Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. If you like this content, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment in the comment section. So today we're going to be recapping and analyzing episode 8 of Yashahime. Last episode, Fubuki actually froze Takachiyo, so the girls are running, and as they're running, Moroha and Setsuna run over Takachiyo, and they break the frozen barrier around Takachiyo. And Toa's basically saying, hey, like, please just give me a ride. And in return, she kind of bribes Takachiyo with gummies. While this is happening, Yatsume actually goes to Kyuki and basically pleads for help, but Kyuki's behind a barrier, and Kyuki says, no, use the rainbow pearl, the purple one, and exploit your powers and, you know, take care of them, finish them off. So he has dreamlike powers, so basically he takes the pearl, he makes himself stronger, and he actually gets a fifth eye. He's able to attack the girls. He attacks Moroha as they approach, and Moroha goes down right away, and Setsuna realizes that this is not a good situation. Takachiyo and Toa are approaching, and Setsuna's like, get out of the way. Yatsume attacks them. They fall flat on their face, and Setsuna realizes it's going to be up to her, and she realizes that she's unaffected by Yatsume because she doesn't dream, she doesn't sleep. So Takachiyo, Moroha, and Toa are out, and as they're out, Setsuna is attacking Yatsume using one of her powers and ends up twisting around the dreams, so each of them are having different dreams. So as Setsuna is taking care of Yatsume, we kind of get a peek at what they're dreaming about. So first we see Moroha, who's having Takachiyo's dream, and in this we see a monk who's taking Takachiyo to Jubei, basically saying that Takachiyo needs to stay with Jubei and be put to work. And Jubei asks the monk, you know, does Hachi know about this? Is he okay with this? And there's not a lot of communication. This monk, who pretty much is Moroku without being Moroku, we could be surprised maybe we find out it's not Moroku, but it looks like him. He doesn't really communicate, he just nods, and like it's very like quiet and morbid. And you could see something really bad is happening, and that's why Takachiyo is being sent here. So it's really sad. And Takachiyo is clearly being split up from his family or whatever. There's clearly a connection to Hachi, and I'm honestly really surprised that we didn't see this before, because raccoon dog, another raccoon dog, like they may be related, maybe Hachi's his father, maybe they're connected somehow. So we learned that. Fast forward, and Takachiyo is having Moroha's dream. And in Moroha's dream, Inuyasha and Kagome are being cornered by demons, and it pretty much looks like Sesshomaru and Kurinmaru are coming after them, and we don't know why. And as this is happening, Kagome looks down and she's holding her baby. It's clearly Moroha. Gives Moroha the rouge, which came from Inuyasha's mother, and says, you're such a good girl, and we knew that if we were gonna have a daughter, we were gonna give this to her. And then she looks up and she places Moroha on Hachi's back. So kind of tying into, you know, Hachi is going to have a big role to play in the show, and clearly Takachiyo has a huge role to play, and they're connected somehow. Hachi goes off with Moroha, and then all of a sudden Inuyasha says they're here, and Kurinmaru and Sesshomaru come up, but he makes a point where he's like, it's Kurinmaru. He doesn't say Sesshomaru, which I find very interesting. So we heard earlier Kurinmaru and Sesshomaru walk the same path. It's almost like Sesshomaru is being possessed, or his body may be possessed by Kurinmaru. I wanted to stop and talk about this a little bit. So earlier, when the girls were making their way back to the feudal era, Sesshomaru seemed to be there and listening, and a lot of people were saying, how could the girls not sense his scent and his presence? Maybe that's because he was potentially there in spirit watching over them and listening in, but maybe not in physical body form. And I thought that was very interesting, because literally they say that Kurinmaru and Sesshomaru walk the same path, but I didn't actually think it meant literally. And I think there's a differentiation there, that even back whenever this happened, I guess 14-15 years ago, Inuyasha's like, that's Kurinmaru, but maybe not shouting out Sesshomaru, but obviously knowing he has to deal with both of them. So it was a really sad moment, but that's all that we got, and obviously both of these are more like flashbacks and dreams. And then we go and we see, you know, Toa is starting to have a dream, and it's a butterfly going to Setsuna, taking her dreams, taking her memories, kind of the same thing, flashes out, and Setsuna is attacking Yatsume, defeats Yatsume. The pearl goes back to Kyuki, and Kyuki's like, oh, like, now I get to see what's what's going on in Toa's brain because the spell still holds that Yashahime has put the girls under and Takachiyo under. And then it goes back and we see that Toa's still dreaming and she sees the butterfly going into the tree. The butterfly goes into the tree and then all of a sudden it's hovering over a woman who appears to be Rin, and Toa doesn't know who this person is. But now she gets to see, oh, who is this person? And the butterfly says something, basically says, not being able to sleep is horrible, but a ceaseless slumber is no better. And then the butterfly is like radiating over this woman, Rin. And it's directly communicating to Toa. So it's less like a dream and more like a spiritual communication. So it's interesting because she basically maybe is trying to say, stop trying to go after the butterfly because maybe it's not what you think. Which I think is really interesting. This is like another huge thing in this episode. So this episode actually gave us a lot to work with. Flash forward and Toa wakes up. The girls go back there on the hunt and they're on the hunt for Kyuki. They show up and they realize that, you know, there's still more at play. So Kyuki's like, oh, you thought I was done with just at the dream stage, like the spell still holds and there's more to it. So she said to Muraha, even try your rouge. So she puts it on and she doesn't transform into Beniyasha. And she basically realizes that Kyuki is absorbing the demonic energy just as much as she stole the dreams. So then we see that Toa also has less energy and that really it's up to Setsuna. And then slowly but surely, once she realizes that Setsuna's like pretty strong and she's coming after her and the spell's on her, Kyuki transforms into a true form, taking with her the rainbow pearl in her mouth. And as they're fighting, she's absorbing Setsuna's energy and her strikes. So off in the corner, Toa and Muraha are scheming because they realize, like, what are we gonna do? Muraha's like, remember how you were able to absorb demonic energy? Like, maybe there's a way for you to help Setsuna. So they test it, Muraha attacks her, and she absorbs the energy. So then Toa goes forward and she attacks Kyuki, and she absorbs the energy. And then once she realizes that she can do this with her, she strikes and hits the rainbow pearl in Kyuki's mouth. She absorbs the energy and she's feeling very good about herself, and then all of a sudden Kyuki's able to take the sword out of her hand, attacks her sister, and once Toa kind of feels, you know, compromised and in a tight position and thinks that Setsuna's hurt, she's beyond frustrated, and she has this way of whenever she's cornered, her powers go berserk. So her sword comes swinging back to her, and then she strikes her with her dragon-like abilities, all while Riku is watching from a distance because he's been waiting for her to use this power. And then basically Kyuki is defeated. Riku comes down and swipes the pearl away, and then the girls are connected again. Setsuna's totally fine, everyone's happy. And then Riku basically introduces himself to the other girls, and then Toa's like, oh hey, nice to see you, and Takachiyo's like, show more respect, like this is Riku, Lord Riku, and he's the one who's been paying the bounty, and like here's the bounty for Kyuki. So it was interesting because he left with the pearl and the girls didn't seem to care or notice, which I thought was interesting. This episode overall was pretty good. I think we got a lot out of it, which the last couple episodes just really weren't giving us a lot to work with. So unfortunately, it looks like Inuyasha and Kagome were cornered and forced to let go of Muraha. We learned that. We don't really know where Kagome and Inuyasha are, but we know that they had to go up against Kurimaru and potentially Sesshomaru as well. Really, really horrible circumstances, but I think there's a lot of outcomes and explanations as to where they could be now. I think that Inuyasha's not dead because he's in the opening, and typically, even if someone is dead, but they're still able-bodied, like Kikyo for example, they'll show up in the intro and outro. So I don't think he's dead. I think he's around somewhere. Kagome, I'm starting to think that maybe she's either dead or she's like lost somewhere in between, and Inuyasha is out looking for her. So I think that has something to do with Kurimaru and all that crazy nonsense, which is really, really sad. I'm really excited that Hachi's involved. I think it kind of, there's so many gaps here, right? I thought it was interesting because Moroku was dropping off Takachiyo in Takachiyo's dream, and it made me think, you know, he was a traveling monk, but it seemed like maybe he was traveling because he was dropping off Takachiyo or maybe coming back. So it makes me think that maybe he is with Sango and like watching over the girls, and at one point he was maybe watching over Moroha, or there must be something going on, but I actually feel like maybe more of the cast is together than we think. I don't really think everyone is gone, which is kind of a nice feeling, but also sad because you start to see some of the other characters being moved around and the pieces starting to come into play. And I thought it was interesting because, you know, Toa's been really pressed to figure out where this butterfly demon is, and now maybe she has the ability to communicate with the sacred tree, and she realizes that she's connected to some capacity to whoever this woman is in the tree, which clearly is Rin. So there's a lot of things at play. Also, we learned a lot about Riku. So Riku is the one who's been paying for the bounties of all of these demons, and it seems like he's after them. It seems like to some capacity he's also after the girls, but it seems like he's got a special bond with them. It seems like he really likes them, particularly Toa. He clearly is very powerful. He has a rainbow pearl. He's given Jubei a rainbow pearl, which we saw earlier in the episode when he's talking to Jubei briefly. As it cuts out, he says, "I don't kill people I hate, I only kill people I love." So leave the dirty work to, you know, these bounties, which basically is what the girls have been doing, is dirty work. Now, once the dirty work is done, he probably feels like these people are valid to kill, I guess, because he's tied to them and that's his duty, or whatever. I'm not really sure, but it looks like Jubei and Riku are in cahoots, and it kind of seems like the only good people that like don't realize that they're playing into bad people's hands are the girls and Takachio. I don't think Takachio is realizing that he may be mixed up in all of this crazy. The girls obviously don't either, but it seems like Riku and Jubei are in on something, and obviously they're against the Four Perils, but it seems like they could potentially be tied to Corinne Maru to some capacity. So I'm curious what that is all about, but we'll find out more. What did you think of this episode? Did you like it, hate it? I'm so happy that we finally don't have filler episodes. If you like this content, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment in the comment section.